Hello students. Today let us delve into the topic past perfect tense. It's quite interesting to know more about the past perfect tense. There are occasions we use past perfect tense without knowing that it could be wrong to use there. Let us see where can we use past perfect tense. This is, past perfect tense is one verb form where we take one verb before another verb. The reason for employing this past form are exactly two. It is used to talk about a situation that occurred in the past and completed in the past. So two actions both happened, both occurred, both finished earlier in a past time. It can be used to describe two actions that occurred in the past that are directly related to each other, but are separated in time. So in a series of action, if we see two actions as though it is in a series that come one after another, then the first action that happened, better to say that had happened in the past, could be written in the past perfect tense. And that is the best way we could say. There are occasions where we use past perfect tense, as I told you earlier, in a wrong way. Most likely the students use, instead of simple past tense, they use simple past perfect tense. Past perfect tense is used if there is only one action, if there is only one verb, if the time of action is not mentioned or is not remembered. If the time of action, if there is only one verb and the time of that action, that verb happened, is given, we should not write it in the past perfect tense. Even if it happened recently, if you don't know when that action happened, neither the writer nor the reader, neither the speaker nor the listener do not know the time of the action, then probably it could be used in the past perfect tense. But if the time of the action is mentioned exactly, we should never use the past perfect tense. And there, we must use most likely the simple past tense. So let us see now where and how and when this past perfect tense is used. One thing you must know, that the form of the past perfect tense is simple. Had plus V3 verb form, or the past participle. We must use had along with had, the past participle. Not had alone. Had alone is not simply become, it cannot become a past perfect tense. Okay, it is used for the past action. Past perfect tense is used for the past action already finished when another past action happened. That way I said another past action had happened. For example, after the film had started, we arrived. Two actions. One, the movie started, and the other, we reached or we arrived. Now, which action that happened first? That must be written in the past perfect tense, and the second action that happened must be written in the simple past tense. That way we write, after the film had started, we arrived. Now, sometime back, so some action happened sometime back for a particular period of time. So that is why it's for the past action that started in the past and continued up to a given time in the past. For a long time. I may say it is for a stretched time, A simple past tense is used for a particular, a pinpoint, for a single, for that moment, on that moment. But a past perfect tense can be used for a stretched period. Or it is a little for a elongated period. And that is how we could say. I had never seen him for 5 days. So not on a particular moment, not at 10 a.m. or not 10 p.m., but for 5 days. And that 5 days are an elongated period, not a single point of time. We could say, I did not see him at 5 p.m. But we may say, I had never seen him for 5 days. We can't say, I didn't see him for 5 days. That would be a wrong usage. And then again, for unreal or imaginary things, wishes, unreal, unfulfilled condition, something like that. We wish, unreal, or we may say that unfulfilled conditions, and what we would speak about later. We wish we hadn't eaten so much. Imagine you have now had a stomachache. You went for a something like a feast, and you had a nice food, stomach full, and when you came back, you had stomachache. At that time you could say, I wish I hadn't eaten so much. Now in a reported speech, after verbs like said, told, asked, inquired, you could use past perfect tense. She said that she had swum. So she said, that is in the simple past tense, and then the past perfect tense, she had swum. And this is how most likely we use past perfect tense. So here, once again, let us cement the idea. Let us get the complete concept of past perfect action. When do we use the past perfect? A completed action before a different past action. Then in the reported speech, then a period of time before another event, not a point of time. And then in the if clause condition, so for example, if you had studied for the test, you wouldn't have failed. If it had snowed, we would have gone skiing, like that. Okay, now let's go further. Past perfect tense. What is the form of the past perfect tense sentence? It's very simple. Had plus V3 or past participle form. So you use the subject and then you use the had, because had is the sign of past perfect tense along with its V3 verb form or past participle. So both these things are a must, a compulsory for a past perfect tense. What are they? Had plus V3 verb form or past participle. Example, she had finished the test. She had finished the test. And that is how we write a positive sentence, a positive simple, a positive past perfect tense. How could we write a negative past perfect tense? By adding nt along with the verb form had. And had, again I say, is the sign of past perfect tense along with its V3 form, along with the V3 verb form, which we call past participle. So here comes the example for a negative past perfect tense. She hadn't finished the test. She hadn't finished the test. It becomes a negative sentence as we use the word not, and the contracted form is hadn't. And how we make a question interrogative sentence? Just simple. Put the word had in front of the subject. then go. Had she finished the test? Had he come to school? Had they gone to market? Simple, very simple. Now let us use see the four usages as well as their examples. To describe an action finished before another past action. Richard had gone out when his wife arrived in the office. So, wife arrived, but Richard had gone out before, because it is not after his wife came that Richard left. Before Richard's wife came, he left the office. So we could say Richard had gone out when his wife arrived in the office. Now another usage, describe an action that happened before a specific time in the past. So I say it's not a single point of time, but an elongated period of time, a period of time, that we must remember. Christine had never been for a period to an opera before last night, not on a particular moment, but an elongated period of past time. And then to describe a cause and effect, using the word because, therefore, so, something like that. I got stuck in traffic because there had been an accident. So, stuck in the traffic and then been an accident, two actions. And one thing happened because of the other. And that is why we say cause and effect relation. And then last we may say to emphasize the result. I had been to London twice by the time I got a job in New York. Again, I got a job, then had been into London. Now again, let us see. This is the most important aspect of past perfect tense. Two verbs that happened just like as in a series, one after another. And remember, if we find two actions that happened one after another, just like as in a series, continuously, one after another, then the first action that happened, better to say had happened, the first action that had happened must be written in the past perfect tense, and the latter action, the second action, can be written in simple past tense. So here comes the example. You can see the film had started before we arrived. Now imagine the film started at 8:30 and you reached it at 8:40 p.m. There is a gap of 15 minutes. But the movie started at 8:30 and you reached there by 8:45 p.m. Which action happened first? The movie started. So the movie started first. That could be the thing that happened first. Therefore, we should write the film had started before we arrived. The film had started before we arrived. Had started. And that must be the usage. Let us now go further. See, when we arrived, the movie had started. Because we were late, the movie had begun already. Now, let us see what could be the first action. What could be the first action? The first action was simply the movie had started. And that way it must be written with the had plus past participle form in the past perfect tense. And what is the second action? The second action is what we could say, we arrived, and that must be written in the simple past tense. So we say, when we arrived, the movie had started. When we arrived, the movie had started. When we arrived, the movie had started. So, The action finished before another action, and especially time in the past. Example, Arjun had already, look at the screen, Arjun had already jogged before we reached his house. So before we reached his house at a particular point, but at that time, before that itself, he had completed the action of jogging. And that is why we could say Arjun had already jogged before we reached his house. So John has started the music before I arrived. Two actions. I arrived and had started. So the action started fast. John already started the music before I reached. Therefore, that action that happened first, that's why I say that had happened first, must be written in the past perfect tense. They had considered that option before signing the contract. So before signing, they thought of, they considered. That's why we say they had considered. And now let us see how can we write the positive form of past perfect tense. Simple, the form is very simple. Subject plus had plus V3 or past participle. I had started, you had started, he had started. Very simple, very simple. Now we may say I had completed it. I had completed it. How could we write the negative form then? Again, we must use the NT, the contracted form, hadn't. Then we write the past participle. Both should be present, visibly present there in the past perfect tense. Had as well as in the negative sense, had not or hadn't. A V3. Both V3 as well as had. Alone will not be sufficient. I hadn't started or I had not started. You hadn't started or you had not started. Or they had not started or they hadn't started. Or we could say I had not or I hadn't completed it. And this is very easy to understand. And then how could we write the question form? Again, bring the word had before the subject. Before the subject. Go further. So, had I started? Had you started? Had we started? Had you started? Had they started? Had you completed it? Had you completed it? And the question mark. Never forget to put the question mark when you write an interrogative sentence. And here comes examples. I had found, you had seen, he had been, she had closed, it had caught, you had talked, we had cleaned, they had found, they had seen, subject plus had plus past participle or V3 verb form. That is compulsory, mandatory. That is the way we write past perfect tense. Example, here comes further example. He had drawn the sketch of a map. Here we see only one verb. But see that the time of the action is not mentioned, means they do not know at what point of time the action happened. So you could say he had drawn the sketch of a map. The map had finished when I reached the stadium. Had she lived in this house? I had not planted the flowers. John had traveled to Venice until last month. They had eaten mangoes. The hero had not fought with cannibal. He had read his favorite book before yesterday. If it is on yesterday, if it is simply yesterday, it could be he read his favorite book yesterday. But it is before yesterday, therefore it is past perfect. The players had lost heart because match finished. I had drafted my plan before I started work. To action. one after another. So let us conclude it. The past perfect tense in English is composed of two parts, the past tense and the verb to have or had, plus the past participle. Had plus past participle, enough. So that is the most important part. Had plus past participle. Subject plus had plus past participle. She had finished. And negatively we could say subject plus had not or hadn't plus past participle. She hadn't. Enough. Then bring the word had before the subject. You can make an interrogative sentence. Had she finished? It's a question time for us. You may keep a pen and paper with you, start writing the answers for the question you see on the screen, and see that your answers are exactly matching with the answers which are given to you. Okay, let us see the question once again. As it change the following sentences as it is directed in the bracket. In the bracket, it is given some instruction. You have to change accordingly. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, and you are asked to change them in a specific way as it is given in the bracket. Tom had painted the gate. Change into negative. What you need to do? Bring a note, write the word not or contracted form int along with the had. So here get the answer. Tom hadn't painted the gate. Now you have to change. They had played cricket into an interrogative sentence. How do you make interrogative sentence? Take the word had before the subject. Exactly you could get the question. Had they played cricket? Don't forget to put the question mark. Then we hadn't liked the movie. It's a negative sentence and you are asked to change it to positive sentence. You can easily do it by removing the contracted form nt. And then you get we had liked the movie. Past participle must be written. Had she danced well? Change into negative by adding nt form. Hadn't she danced well? And then it could be an interrogative as well. Then the last thing, you have to change into a positive sentence. Had he been the captain? The question interrogative sentence. Change into positive by keeping the had in between, not in the front. So you get the answer. He had been the captain, not for a single moment, but for a long time. Write the correct form of the verb given in the bracket. Again here, you look at the screen, you may find quite interesting questions. There are 2 verbs everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences. And you find 2 verbs. You will have to write the answers very clearly. Okay, let us see. He that read different kinds of books before you come. Which action happened first? Read or come? And read happened first and then come happened second. So you must know the first action that happened first must be written in past perfect. And therefore the answer is he had read different kinds of books before you came, the simple past tense. Again we have 2 sentences. I dash, come here after you dash, after you dash. There are 2 actions, come and leave. Which action happened first? Yeah, the leave action, leave happened first. And then come happened second. Therefore, the action that happened first must be written in past perfect tense. Therefore, it is not you leave, you left. It should be it. You had left. So I came here after you had left. In the third sentence, I practice the song before the program starts. 2 words, practice and start. Which action happened first? Practice. And then which action happened second? Start. Therefore, practice must be written in past perfect and start must be written in simple past. And here comes the answer. I had practiced the song before the program started. They play hockey in that field before it began to rain. two verbs, play and begin. Which action happened first? Play happened first. First they play, and then which action happened second? Begin second. Now the first action must be written in past perfect, and the second action must be written in simple past. And here comes the answer. They had played hockey in that field before it began to rain. And here comes the last one. I, Dad, helped him to do the task after I finished my work. Which action happened first? Finished, because it is said after I finished. So I finished my work, then I helped. So finish must be written in past perfect and help must be written in simple past tense. Therefore, you may say, I helped him to do the task after I had finished my work. Okay, it's enough. Look at the following sentences. Now comes some confusing sentences. Look at the sentence. Tarun took breakfast. Identify the tense. Tarun took breakfast. Identify. What is the verb form used? Took. Is it V1, V2, V3 or something? It is V2. Since the verb is V2 verb form, we know it is simple past tense because the verb is given in the V2 verb form. Now, Tarun had breakfast. Had. Is it past perfect tense? It is not past perfect. Why? Why isn't it past perfect? Because no V3 verb form is attached with the word had. A verb can be V3 if there is a helping verb. We find it before that. So you have studied most of the time the regular verbs. Worked. Here you see worked, V2 verb form, worked, V3 verb form. How do we know then which verb is V3 and we find in a sentence? Remember, if a regular verb means both V2 and V3 are similar, and if a similar verb is used without a helping verb, it is definitely V2, and if it is used after a helping verb, it is V3. So if I say I loved my mother, that loved is V2. Now I am loved by my mother, I am loved by my mother, then am loved. Both places word loved is used, but one place verb loved is used without a helping verb, that tends to be the V2 verb form, and the other place same word loved is used after a helping verb, it tends to be V3. And now here, had is written. Had is actually the V2 verb form of the verb has or have. Has is singular V1, have is plural V1, and V2 is had, and there V3 also is had. And that had, if is used without a V3, it is V2 verb form. Simple. So here, word had is used and we could not find another V3 verb form. Therefore, the had is not the sign of past perfect tense. It is simple past tense because it is the V2 verb form of have or have. Therefore, this sentence is the simple past tense. It is not past perfect tense. Did I confuse you? Simply, the had is here is not the sign of past perfect tense, but is the V2 verb form of have or has. Therefore, it is the verb used is here is the simple past tense form, never the past participle. If it is simple past tense, the verb is simple past tense form, the sentence is given in the simple past, not in the past perfect tense. And that is what you need to remember. Look at some more confusing. Tarun had breakfast. Identify the tense. Tarun had taken breakfast. Identify the tense. Tarun had had breakfast. 3 sentences. So look at the first sentence, Tarun had breakfast. Identify the tense. We know it is the verb had is the V2 verb form because no other help verb is used, no V3 form is used. Therefore, it is simple past tense, no doubt at all. We saw it already. Now, Tarun had taken breakfast. Here, had is used, but it is not used as the V2 verb form, but it is used, the had is used as the sign of past perfect tense. And the V3 verb form is also used. Therefore, it is past perfect tense. Had is used along with the V3 verb form. Or V3 verb form is used along with the had. Therefore, this sentence is given in the past perfect tense. Now here comes Tarun had breakfast. Is it correct sentence? Is it grammatically correct? How could we use two had? What is the need of two had and one is enough? How will we explain it? Is it grammatically wrong sentence? Never. It is a grammatically correct sentence. How could we explain it? It is grammatically correct because in the second sentence you see Tarun had taken breakfast. There we used the word had as the sign of past perfect. And the third sentence also you used the first had as the sign of past perfect tense. Now in the second sentence we said after had we used the V3 verb form which is taken and we didn't find any mistake in it. In the third sentence also again the first had is the sign of past perfect as it is given in the second sentence. And in the third sentence again the first had is used as the sign of past perfect tense. But the second had, that is not the sign of past perfect tense. It is used just like we used in the second sentence we used the word taken, a V3 verb form. In the third sentence we used the V3 verb form that must be attached with the word had, which is the sign of past perfect tense. And had is also a V3 verb form of the word have or have. So we use the sign of past perfect tense had and then the V3 verb form had. So to had, it is never going to be wrong. So it is exactly a perfect, past perfect tense. Never get confused. Don't feel that 2 times writing had can become wrong. But don't write every time, after one had, don't write every time another had, unnecessarily. That will be inappropriate. Now another confusing thing. Arun went to market. How can we change into past perfect? How can we change into past perfect? Another sentence. Arun was a teacher. Can you change into past perfect? Then comes another sentence. He was my best friend. Can you change into past perfect? Let us see one after another. Arun went to market. We know we need to change a sentence into past perfect. We can do it only by writing the sign of past perfect is had plus V3 verb form. Now here the verb is went. So look at the word went, it is a verb. It is V2 verb form. What is the V3 of went? We know go, went, gone. So we must use had plus V3. And here comes the answer. Arun had gone is the V3 of the word went. V3 of the verb went. So we get the perfect answer. Arun had gone to market. It tends to be a past perfect tense. Now Arun was a teacher. Okay, again, how will we change into past perfect tense? You see the first sentence. Here we used the word had. Along with had, we used the V3 verb form of the given verb. What was the verb given here? Went. What is the V3 of went? Gone. So we could write had plus gone, past perfect tense. Now here the second sentence. Arun was a teacher. So how can we change into past perfect? We must use the word had because it is a sign of past perfect. Now we must use the V3 of the verb. What is the verb here? Was. Teacher is not a verb. A is not a verb. Arun is not a verb. Was is the verb. Is it V1, V2, V3? Remember I taught you, is and am and are V1 verb form that belong to B family, and was and were are V2 verb form. And what was the V3 verb form? For good. I know you may forget it. The V3 form of was or were, the V3 form of is, am, are is nothing but been. B-double-E-N. If you forget that, if you don't know that, you will not be able to write this sentence in past perfect tense. So here comes the answer. We must use had. Along with the had, we must use the V3 of was. What is the V3 of was? Arun had been a teacher. Not for a single moment, not for a single second, for a considerable period of time. That is the meaning of had been a teacher. Perfect tense, when we speak, it is not something that happened only on a certain point of time, but for a period of time. Okay, let us see the last sentence. He was my best friend. Change into past perfect. Similarly, you can say, he had been my best friend. Had plus V3 verb form of the verb was. And we could say it is past perfect tense. And change the following sentence as it is directed in the brackets. Let us go further. Here comes the question. Tom had painted the gate. Change into simple past. Remove the word had and write the V2 verb form of painted. The answer we got, Tom painted the gate. They had played cricket. You have to change into past continuous. You must write ing form, and along with the ing form you must write either was or were according to the subject. Therefore you get the answer, they were playing cricket. Now we like the movie past perfect. The verb is liked, which is V2. Oh, how can we change into past perfect? Had plus V3 of the verb liked. Both V2 and V3 are same, liked. So the answer, we had liked the movie. Again, we were innocent. We have to write past perfect. Past perfect. How could we write a sentence into past perfect? Had plus V3 form of the given verb. What is the verb here? Were. What is the V3 of was or were? Been. Then along with the had you must write. So we had been innocent. And the last one, simple past. So it is he had been the captain. So you remove had, and then after removing you get the word been. Then been, what is the V2 of been? Then only we can write past. If was or were, V2 we could change into been to V3. Then V3 could be changed into V2 as was or were. So with he we may write was. So was he the captain? Question, interrogative. And this is how we could understand the concept of past perfect tense. Hope that you enjoyed the lesson